Where is my proof? Well, it's not hard to put together here. First of all, JFK was a progressive Democrat. He was. He was about social justice issues. He was about globalism. He was a progressive Democrat. Look it up. And clearly acted like one too, because at every instance he showed weakness. He did. So, the Bay of Pigs, he either should have said we're scrapping the Bay of Pigs and not doing it at all, or he should have given the air support that Eisenhower said to give. Because during the transition of Kennedy coming in and Eisenhower going out, Eisenhower had put it together. And he said, you just have to supply them with air support. What Kennedy did was he had them do it, but give them no air support. So put all of those people in danger, which is what pissed all those exiled Cubans off that had been being trained to try to go in and resist Castro. And so by not giving air support, put everybody in danger, made America look bad, a total embarrassment. So he would have, if he had brains, and I believe he did, I just believe he did it on purpose, because of that failure, that major failure. Like, yeah, go in and do it, but I'm not going to give air support because I won't be able to claim plausible deniability. He said it would turn into an international incident. So by doing it the way he did it, it led to the Soviet Union getting aligned with Cuba and putting nukes in on Cuba grounds, in Cuba, period. So he escalated us almost to the brink of disaster. He did. Because of that. Okay, but then it doesn't stop there. Instead of him taking responsibility and saying, yeah, this was my screw up, he turns around and starts going after the CIA and carrying on about them having too much power and blah, 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 when it was his screw up. Now, right before he died, or not too long before he died, he did admit, yeah, I that did lead to the Cuban Missile Crisis, because that debacle did. But then it got even worse, because not only did he not know how to handle the Cuban Missile Crisis, but he ended up making us look even weaker. While publicly appearing strong, Kennedy secretly agreed to remove U.S. Jupiter missiles from Turkey as part of the resolution. So he gave in. So, showing weakness over and over again. Critics claim this undermined his firm stance and set a precedent for future crises. Yeah, it did. What was going on in Cuba needed to be handled. The amount of social democratic, progressive, communist student parties that were coming in from Latin America and the Middle East to be trained by Cuba or be trained by Castro in Cuba into guerrilla warfare and psychological warfare. Yeah, that's all in the most recent documents. It's like overwhelming how much they were doing. They have it broken down to all the different countries. They were calling countries saying, please do not fly people here. But many of them, and some listened and others didn't. Now, this was a time when the Soviet wasn't getting involved in that end of it. The Soviets didn't align with Cuba until after JFK effed up and decided to destroy what could have been a successful mission by not giving any air support. So he showed not that he was a strong leader, not that he was trying to do the right thing, but either that he was stupid, and I don't believe he was, or that he was deliberately trying to undermine America's interests and make us look weak. Because everything he did ended up leading to us having all these democratic social student groups all through the universities. It's why you're seeing these major universities that are marching with Hamas, because that's what that whole agenda was going on in Cuba in the 60s. It was all about the taking America down, but doing it because you can't do it, through a war. will just start getting him in. Everything Kennedy did, it was almost like he was helping Castro. And believe me, we have plenty of politicians, mainly Democrats, but some rhinos, that did support Castro. They did. And yet he was not about, because they tried to claim he was about freedom. No, he isn't. He was about his socialist agenda, his progressive socialist agenda. It wasn't like the revolution we had, which was to have freedom. It was about his Marxist-Leninist agenda. And at every turn, JFK showed that he was willing to turn the other cheek with Cuba. And yet all the documents are there that the CIA has broken it down to how many people were coming from Latin America, from this country, from that country, just getting trained in guerrilla warfare. Like it's rather terrifying. And Kennedy's answer to that was, yeah, you guys do Bay of Pigs, but I won't provide air support. How could you be that stupid? And so then, because he didn't want to look bad, he turned around and blamed the CIA. That's what he did. And that's why they've carried on about the CIA ever since. So, as far as the rest of the proof, well, you can go watch. I mean, you can look up. JFK or RFK Jr. has said that he's been on Epstein's plane twice, but he didn't go to the island. He went fossil hunting with Ghislaine, which he calls Glenn because she was close to the family. Ghislaine was invited to Kerry Kennedy's wedding when she was marrying Andrew Cuomo. The Kennedys invited her. Okay? We know what Ghislaine Maxwell was doing. So if everybody else in the political world knew it, you know the Kennedys did. Like, just put the dots together. Let's see, what else? Oh, well, of course, the Kenya students, which nobody talks about. I mean, the Kennedy Library loves to rave about it, but the part that they even rave about, but I don't know if they do anymore because I make such noise about it. They probably do. But why would you, right before you're going into your presidency, pay for 800 Kenya students to come here? And then he tried to pass it off that, and the media tried to help him, that this is how much he stands with black people. And the American black people were like, we're not signing on to that shit. No, if you wanted to help the black people, help the ones in your country. But he paid for the first 2 flights because the State Department refused to do that. And then, of course, after Kennedy got in, the State Department started doing it, so we started paying for it. But it just so happened that on the second flight that the Kennedys paid for, Barack Obama's dad was on it. What a coincidence. Because if you know anything about the covert ways that communism and socialism comes in, they increment things little by little, so that by the time they are taking you over, you don't realize it until it's too late because you're surrounded by it. So everything Kennedy did, I'm not saying he's responsible for everything in the world, but I'm saying all of those details were huge F-ups. And it's shocking to me that nobody has called any of that into question. You got Castro over there training vigilante students into guerrilla warfare. Then they go back home and they basically stay as sleeper cells until they need them to rise up. And that's basically, I would say, then they also, too, when they go back to their country, they're training other young ones to take on that. So that's how you get your Tren de Allegra, you get your MS-13, you get all of these vigilante groups. And then you have the homegrown ones here that were the Black Panthers, that were the Weather Underground group, and there were many others, that were like that, that came in the late 60s and early 70s. So because of all the F-ups of JFK. He's not a stupid man. He aligned more with Castro. So he didn't want America to catch on to it. So he blamed the CIA so that it would take focus off of him. If that's not enough proof for you, then you don't want proof.